What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pens and Tea. My name is Carrie, and today, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to those of you who suggested I get an air filter, an air purifier, is what I meant to say. Thanks. It actually is helping a little bit with the allergies and all that goodness, because my allergies have been getting worse and worse as I've been getting older. We're almost 6 months into the year. Almost. It's the middle of May. I am congested. Clip before this. It's the middle of May. It's almost June. So we're almost halfway through 2024, which just blows my mind. I don't even know where this year went. I really don't. I say that every year. The older I get, the more just absurd it gets. I mean, I know the vast majority of people watching my video are actually older than me, but if there's anyone younger, I'm 35. If there's anyone younger, especially in their teens, truly enjoy it. Truly. I was always told, don't be in a rush to grow up. I was in a rush to grow up. It's a trap. But the good thing about growing up is you can buy some pens. And I have purchased pens in my time. Just one or two. Not that many. But I was having a discussion with somebody on Patreon for a little bit, and we were going back and forth, and we were having a good time. Check the description down below, by the way, if you want to see what my Patreon is all about. We're having a great time over there. With the rare exception of this one and the one previous, you do get full early access to these videos before they go live. Life's been super crazy lately, so I haven't been able to get them up ahead of time. I literally film them, edit them, upload them, post them. And usually I try and go advance, but things have been wild. My character died in D&D, guys. I'm gutted. Anywho, we were having a good chat, and this person was just asking me what my favorite pens that I've been using this year are. It goes again, we're almost halfway through the year already. It's just mind blowing. And so I thought, you know what? Sure. I don't think I've ever done a top 5 fountain pen video where I've done it segmented. I usually always do it in December, like everybody does when you talk about the year end. And so I thought, and of course the year-end ones always has a little bit of recency bias. So I thought, let me do 6 months in, and then I'll do it again in December anyways, and we'll see if any of these change. Now, I'm going to have one honorable mention that I'm about to talk about now that I can almost guarantee you will bump one of the 5 that I'm going to talk about out. And the only reason why it is an honorable mention right now is because I just got it. And I've only been using it now for a couple weeks, because when I first got it is when I first moved. And if you've been following me either on Patreon or even just paying attention to YouTube, you're gonna know that I moved, and then that Parker had a very, very, very difficult time coming to the apartment. She's doing much, much better. Still is not the way that she was before we moved, but that could take months and months to have that back. But I'm no longer actually concerned about her now. It's just more she needs to just adjust to the fact and get used to the fact that we're not moving again. Anyway, I digress. ADHD. The Platinum Century 3776 or Platinum 3776. I never remember if it has a century or not. The celluloid. This is the tortoise celluloid fountain pen. All of these pens, by the way, that I've spoken about, with the exception of one, does have an actual review if you want to see a detailed breakdown of them. The one that I will mention when it comes up is going to have a review very, very soon, likely within the next week, because I like it quite a bit. It's just I took some time off. So the Platinum Celluloid 3776, the original Platinum, the blue chartreuse, is the actual first gold nib pen that I've ever purchased. And I said that if I were to ever get another Platinum pen, it would be this one. And I finally did. This was one of the ones that I've been wanting to buy for many, many, many years, but it's very expensive. And I just thought, well, I'm spending a lot of money on a new condo anyways. I might as well spend a little bit more, right? Just commemorate the time. And I absolutely adore it. But it is too new to be considered an all-time favorite of the first 6 months, basically, of 2024, because I just got it. But all of these pens I've had for quite some time. And I'm going to start with the pen that has been on the year-end list for several years now, and very likely will be there at the end of 2024. But who knows? And that is the Pilot Custom 912 with the Falcon nib. So to look at this pen, it's very boring. It's just a black-bodied pen, nothing going on. I do like the silver trim because I prefer silver trim over gold trim. And this does have the Falcon nib, which I'm going to have to move out of frame in order for it to try and focus on the pen and not me. Yeah, it just won't really do it very well. Anywho, this one has the Falcon nib, so it's got that flex writing to it, and I do have a different feed in it. So it comes with a plastic feed, but I have swapped out an ebonite feed. And every time I talk about it, everyone always wants to know where I got the ebonite feed from. I purchased it from nibsmith.com. I went with the 3-slit feed. You can also get a 2-slit feed, but I like mine to be like just stupid wet, and this is it. Like I said, I've mentioned many times that I really like this one because it is exceptionally wet. I really like putting Diamine Writer's Blood or Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukiyo in here. But you can also really use this for any of the shading chromochromatic, I don't know how to say it, inks that you really need to show off a lot of the property for, because this is just a fire hose of a pen. But I also appreciate the nib because going back into old journals and like reading through them, I don't even have to read the words that I wrote. Based on what it looks like, I can tell when I write with this pen what my mood was, because it's really responsive with that flex nib. I don't necessarily flex it out like an actual calligrapher because I'm not very good at that and I don't have the time nor patience to practice. But it really does get like the pressure that I'm writing down. So if like I'm upset, angry, sad, whatever, it really does make an impact. One that I purchased actually in January, so it's been with me all of 2024 this year, is the specific model, but I've had many of these for a couple years now, and that is a Benu fountain pen. This one specifically is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey. It is an exclusive to Goulet Pens, and I absolutely adore it. Like I said to someone on Patreon, I actually purchased it for me because I thought it was going to sell out. It did. It is back though. And then I sent a pen to her and we did a little pen swap. So again, just to keep plugging the Patreon, look at the things we can accomplish over there. I adore this one. The Euphoria from Benu is one of my favorite all-time pens ever. I have multiple versions of it, but this Earl Grey is special not only because of how I was able to attain it, but of course my channel is called Pens and Tea, and despite the fact that I don't talk about tea anymore, I still drink tea multiple times a day for the most part. And Earl Grey used to be my all-time favorite tea, and it still is if I really need a hug. If I really need something to comfort me, then Earl Grey is still that. But I do require a little bit of milk and a little bit of sugar. Otherwise, it's just a little bit too bitter for me. But usually I don't drink that many black teas anymore because I don't add milk or sugar to my teas anymore, but with black teas I typically do. So Earl Grey, I love you. There's actual Earl Grey tea in the resin and it's just stunning, writes really well. Don't judge Benu by its cover because I did. Again, I've done whole videos of this. One of my all-time favorites ever. The only repeated brand that I have in my top 5 is Pilot. Pilot is one of my all-time favorite brands. Probably, actually, to be fair, my favorite brand for fountain pens in general. Because Benu, while I love them and probably are the ones I use the most often, they don't make different models that write differently. They all write basically the same, whereas Pilot doesn't. They do make different ones that have different feels. So like, even though these are both Pilots, they are vastly different pens. So that's why I'm not saying Benu is my all-time favorite, and that's why I think Pilot's probably, because you do have a little bit more options. Anyways, I digress again. The Pilot Custom 74, this one has a medium nib. I really, really like it. This was the first, this was the second Custom 74. The first one I bought was the all clear one with the fine nib, and I didn't like the fine nib as much, so I got the medium on this. I adore it because it is very... What I always like to talk about is it has like a shock absorber type feel to the nib, where, you know, when you actually write, it is a little bit more responsive to your pressure. It's not anything like the Falcon nib where like you're going to see like mass differences, but it's soft feeling without having flex, which is as accurate as I can describe it. And it also is quite wet. So it works, again, really well for shading inks like Sailor 123, 224, like those are the types of inks that I like to put in here. A lot of the troublemaker inks I really like to put in here as well, because it really shows it off to the best of its ability. One day I would like to get either like the forest green or the stone blue color, but that's one day. Finances are tight these days, guys. I bought a condo. Those are expensive. Plus, I also have another habit that I am addicted to. Okay, so another one in the top 5, I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit because this video is a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Arizona Sunset. Now, again, if you've watched my videos for a long time, you're going to know that I actually detested this pen when I first got it. It was one of the biggest disappointments I've ever had, and that is because the extra fine gold nib was one of the worst writers I've ever had, and this is one of the most expensive pens that I own, and it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. It was dry, it was scratchy, not good. I like Visconti pens, but Visconti, do better. Gosh, your quality control is just not there, fellas. Come on. Anywho, this one I sent to Emmy from Pen Venture, and he tuned it for me, and now it writes like a dream. It's very smooth, very wet. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I adore him. I adore him very, very much. So check him out. Free plug, Emmy, Pen Venture. He's Pen Venture on his website. He's Pen Venture on Instagram, YouTube. He puts out really insanely high quality videos, you guys, like crazy high quality videos. So again, go check him out. But I really like this one because the hook safe lock is one of my favorite capping mechanisms. It's just so satisfying to have that tension and push. I really do like the way that it feels in my hand quite a bit. Now that it writes the way that I like it to do within perfect harmony is gorgeous. The actual color vibe, I do like a lot of like the warmer, richer colors. I mean, despite this one being blue, I do like the warmer colors for the most part. And there are the exception, but there always is. And it does hold a fair amount of ink. My only beef with this one is that it is a little bit tougher to clean out. But when I do have it inked up, I have it inked up with an ink that I will use for quite a long time. Usually either Montblanc James Purdy and Sons single malt, or the Wonder Pens exclusive Dominant Industry ink, Ginger Chicken. That magnifique. Okay, and then the last pen that I'm going to mention is the one that will have a full review coming shortly. Like I said, probably within the next week or so. And it is another vacuum fill pen, actually, which is funny because I don't typically like vacuum fills that much. And again, I'm using another vacuum fill as my mic holder. Go figure. But this one, speaking of Emmy from Pen Venture, was sent to me by him. And it's stunning, and it was one that I've never even heard of. It came out of the blue, a little bit of an underdog for me. I didn't see it coming, and that is a vacuum fill pen from Gravitas. It is a completely clear demonstrator, which again is not something that's my usual go-to. I like something that like will have like a little peep window, or is like kind of semi-transparent, things like that, or even like the Benu here, like there's little tiny spots that you can see, but I don't typically enjoy fully transparent pens. Again, there are the exception, but this one just writes so awesome. So awesome. Gravitas I've been very impressed with. I've had a few pens sent to me from Emmy from Pen Venture, and I'm very impressed. This one, again, much like the Visconti, sits really nice in my hand. It's got a good weight without being heavy. I like the extra fine nib on this pen. Again, Emmy knows what he's doing. The great thing when you order from him, he can tune it to your liking. Just send him a message. He'll take care of it. It's very smooth, very wet. Does hold a fair amount of ink, which is really, really nice. There's one thing that I don't like about it that, spoiler, I guess, for the review, the cutoff valve here for that little extra reserve of ink here doesn't really work. But that's not a deal breaker for me because I don't really travel with my fountain pens, and I don't think like just putting it in the car really matters. It's mostly for like planes and stuff, and I don't have the money to travel these days, so no worries there. But I like the way that it feels. Like I said, I like the way that it looks. It writes to my exact specifications, which is huge because the way that a pen writes really determines everything in my mind. Even if the pen doesn't look the greatest, if it writes really well, then I will overlook the way that it looks. Like if you watched my review that I did relatively recently on the greatest travel pen ever, I don't really like the way that this pen looks, also by Gravitas. But it's an amazing, 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 amazing writer. So I really like the pen. You're going to have to let me know in the comment section down below. What pens do you not like the look of, but yet you love it because it just writes beautifully? So this pen just does that for me. And like I said, it was a sleeper pen. It was an absolute sleeper pen. It is slightly, ever so slightly, kind of ish stained because I had a purple ink in here. Actually, I think I had Diamine's Redder Blood. I talk about that ink all the time because it's one of my all-time favorites. So I would have to take it apart to deep clean it, but I'm just not about that life. Why? Because I'm probably going to put the same ink back into it. But those are my 5. Like I said, whether or not they remain those 5 in the next 6 months, who knows? I am almost certain 3 of these will be, because they're just the best. I'm almost certain the Platinum Century Celluloid will replace one of these, but I'm not sure. That's 6 months from now. Who knows? So much could happen. So let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite pens so far for 2024 are. If you've used any of these 5 or my honorable mention, let me know down below what you thought of these pens. And as always, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Gotta help that algorithm. The last few videos I've posted have not been doing super great. They haven't been doing like abysmally by any chance, but when the gray down arrow is showing on YouTube, that's never a good sign. So that would mean a lot if you could do that. And as always, I'll see you next time. Videos every Monday, every Friday, the random Tuesdays. All right, guys. Thanks. I appreciate you. Bye.